This is literally like the third time I've tried recording this. Anyway, hello everybody. I hope you're having a wonderful day. And today I would like to share with you guys my final thoughts on the Towser K Mini White Mountain Knives exclusive. This is a design by Kizer. It has been through a lot of different variations. There's a full size, there's a mini. I think the mini sales have done a lot better than the full size, mainly just because, they're still available, like the full size button lock ones, but the mini one just, it flew like crazy. There were some issues, some tolerance issues with the button lock ones. Unfortunately, it was an incredible design. I love the knife. I had a mini one. It was awesome, but I ended up selling it off. And it turned out that in the weeks after I sold the knife, there ended up being a handful of people that made content using the large and the mini platform, and they were just shitting all over it because there were a lot of button issues. The one that I had, it was a little sensitive. It was just a little sensitive, but for the most part, it worked just fine. And I knew I sold it at a good price, definitely. But this guy, I got no complaints. This thing is excellent. How Kizer is able to pack so much value into an item like this, I can't wrap my head around it. I don't understand how they're getting an item with so many different cool features at this price point. It's $109, or well, let me check really quick. I had my laptop on just a second ago. It was either like 105, yeah, not even 109, excuse me. It's $105. Now on this channel, my budget line is $100 and under. I know, $100, that's a good chunk of money, right? But I have a ultra budget line, which is $50 and under. Every channel does it a little bit different. Doesn't matter, not a big deal. It's just my thing, right? So if you use another YouTuber's 10% discount code, I tend to use Lefty EDCs a lot. It's Lefty10. I'm pretty sure Wayne from Wayne Sharp World has one as well. Stasa 23 Knife Therapy. So many people have a 10% discount code. I don't have one, unfortunately. Not a big deal, but there are plenty of other people that do, and I don't mind sharing that. I use it. Any little bit counts, right? But by using that discount, I paid like 96 or like $98 for this. This is a budget knife. This is a budget knife to me, and it's freaking sweet. So what you're getting here is just a beautifully executed polished stonewash blade. I love how they do their finish on this thing. It's beautiful. It's undeniably beautiful. I love it. 154 cm. I haven't had a whole lot of it to experience through sharpening at, thick or thin grinds, tall or short blades, but I've had a little bit of it, and I'd say that coarse edge, a 400 grit and like a 1 or 0.5 micron strop, good to go. It's gonna last a lot longer than a higher polished edge, at least in my experience. Now, I don't remember the exact edge that I have on this. It's probably, a 18 to 17 degree edge. Of course, the lower the edge, the slicier, but also a little bit more fragile it can be. I know what I'm cutting into, 9.9 times out of 10. So I don't really worry about like hitting like metal particles or staples or anything like that. But you can of course adjust the edge or whatever when you go to sharpen and put your own customized edge on there. But as it comes from the factory, it's a little thick. It still moves through material just fine. It's good to go out of the box. But once you sharpen it, that's where it really shines, and this thing has absolutely impressed me. It really has. 154 cm, good to go, and even CPM 154. I know there's a tiny little bit of difference between the two compositions, but honestly, I can't tell. I've had, I think, more CPM 154 than 154 CM, so it doesn't matter. I can't tell the difference. It's the same shit essentially to me. This is an Azo design, AZO. You can see right here, Towser K Mini. Those are really the only markings besides the obnoxious Kizer logo there. Wish it wasn't there because it's such a beautiful blade, but it's there. Not a big deal. At least there's not a bunch of like random numbers and like crazy big stuff on the majority of the blade. It looks good, but I really do wish that the show side or the right side of it was just like this, because so much to appreciate. It's beautiful, and I know it looks a little smudgy right now. I'm sorry about that. Let me see if I could actually wipe that off real quick. This whole unit is actually like semi-polished, and while frag titanium in theory should offer a good bit of traction, grip and texture and all the good stuff, this not really. It's slick. It's very refined feeling. It looks like it's super grippy, but it's not. It's honestly really slick feeling. It's very well polished and finished. So it's you either like it or you don't. Visually speaking, and in use and in hand and whatever. But as a blade is, I mean, it's beautiful. It's good to go. I definitely like it. The blade stock on this is, I would say, about average, maybe a little bit thinner than average. The actual tip itself, that is very, very thin. So that's wonderful. It comes down to an incredibly thin edge, and it's just good to go stuff. You do have a little bit of jimping right there, as well as half the length on the spine. I love this. Why the hell don't more knife designers and knife manufacturers add more spine jimping? You do it right or you don't do it at all. And on here, even though it is very rounded off, I do like the feel of it. It feels really good, especially when you're choked up on this thing. You could be back here, but why the hell would you be? You really need to be right up here, and this feels excellent. This has the clutch lock. Now, the clutch lock is Kizer's variation of a variable spring tension system. They have 5 different tensions, varying from like super strong to extremely light, to where the blade practically falls out. But with the Omega springs that they do offer, and they do offer extra, they sent along a little goodie bag when I purchased this thing, and I know it comes with every unit. It's extra Omega springs, which is awesome. I most definitely appreciate that. Even still now, in late 2023 and early 2024, I'm still seeing a lot of other people showing brand spanking new knives and content and stuff. And a lot of these knife companies don't send extra goodies. Like, if it's a budget knife or, a mid-grade knife, screws can strip. And they don't really cost much to, the factory to include them. And maybe they can make a quick buck off the customer, but the customer wouldn't know, because they would get the free screws and be happy when something happens to their knife and be able to use that. I love extra bits and goodies and whatnot. I have an organizing system, and I can keep all my shit together and whatnot. But I know some people will complain, well, I'm just going to lose it anyway. It doesn't really matter. Or, oh, the knife is so cheap. If I strip a screw, I'm just, if I ruin the pocket clip screws, for example, I'll just have the knife as a pocket dropper. Really? A pocket dropper? Nah, no. It's best to use a knife that's intended with a pocket clip to have the pocket clip properly on it. But thank you, Kizer. Thank you so much for including extra stuff with your knives. I love it. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. So the varying tension, like I said, strongest to weaker. It actually comes on the second to strongest one. I actually had to detune it. So it's smack in the middle on the 3rd level. And that's where I feel is my sweet spot. And what's funny is that I've given a lot of shit to other crossbar lock styled, access lock styled, having knives when their springs are just far too weak. And you can practically whip the blade out with just a little shake of the wrist. Nothing crazy, nothing super tactical or aggressive. But I'm saying with a little whip of the wrist, you can get the blade out. and it looks cool and it's fun and it's fidgety, but there's something about that that just screams cheap to me. That's just my thing. I don't know if anybody else feels the same way, but for great example, one of the worst access lock style knives when it came to the spring tension was the Kunwu Chad. Now the knife as is was immaculate. It was beautiful looking. It was great in hand, excellent in use. But the Omega springs on that knife had no right to be anywhere near that freaking thing. They were trash, absolute garbage. The springs on there, even the extra ones that they included, were not stronger, and they didn't have a varying tension setting. So they didn't have a clutch lock styled. Sorry, bumped the camera. They didn't have a clutch lock styled. They don't have to call it the clutch lock. You know, they don't have to really call it anything. They could just add it in, and it can be a fun little Easter egg or surprise for the end consumer, right? I found that recently on a knife that I just picked up the other day. My third variation of the C&B Made Knives Predator. No one's talking about this thing anymore. Why? Because this thing came out like 2-3 years ago. But they're making the new ones with holes for varying tension strength for the Omega springs. That's groundbreaking. Those tiny, tiny little holes can make a huge difference when it comes to personalization. There were some people that loved the strength of how strong and robust the springs are on here as is. I know Jared over there at Neve's Knives, this is one of his favorite knives. And I've purchased multiple of them, you know, because, you know, mainly through his influence and other people's influence, because it really is that good of a knife. But they put holes, they put varying tension settings. They did something similar to what a clutch lock would be. Now, Kizer is doing 5 holes. C&B is doing 3 holes on that particular model at the moment, which to me is a game changer because customization is everything to knife enthusiasts. It really is. So that's just my little spiel on that. But this thing, it's awesome. Again, this is my first unit with a clutch lock with the varying tension settings for the Omega springs, and I love the idea. It's not gimmicky, it's not impractical, they don't slip out, it's not cheapy or nothing, it doesn't devalue anything, it just makes it a whole lot more customizable. And even now that the knife has definitely broken in, it's now on the lighter side, and you know what, I may go and tune it up again back to how it came from the factory, from the second to strongest. Right now it's on the middle, and it's still fun, it's still fidgety, it's still good to go. But I think I might actually bump it up. I can do that. That's awesome. You know, there's a lot of other knife designs with crossbar style locks that aren't doing that. So this is awesome. It really is. So I already talked about the price. We're freaking 13.5 minutes in. Let's do some size comparisons. Why not? This is, you know, another design that has garbage Omega springs. You know what's in here right now? Chinese Omega springs. And you know what? This knife has never been better. I have busted the Omega springs on this on this Tug Ritter RSK. This is the full-size one, Magna Cut, and, you know, titanium and whatnot. It's fancy, it's cool, it's beautiful, but the Omega springs are garbage. And I've had to contact customer service, and I love their customer service department because they are very responsive. They don't really ask any questions. They don't bug. They don't make you feel guilty. You know, you send in an email inquiring about you know bad Omega springs. They just send you some like a week later. Cool, free Omega springs. But they're still the same ones. So they're still sending you weak Omega springs for a ultra robust, ultra powerful knife. And it's just that things just don't match up. It's the same issue that I had with the Kunwu Chad. The only difference between this and the Kunwu Chad is that this was still better in action, you know, and still stronger than the Kunwu Chad was. That's how weak my variation of the Kunwu Chad was. Maybe in the future I might be able to handle one. Maybe they go and revamp it and actually put properly strong springs on there. And you know what? You're going to see that in my collection because that was a beautiful knife. It really was. But the Omega springs that are on this RSK, they're Chinese Omega springs. So this is no longer a full USA made build anymore. Boohoo, sucks, right? And then this guy right here, this is a Spyderco PM2. Nice and beautiful. Nothing really to complain about it. Those are two full-size knives. I have two, I guess also large but medium-sized knives. This is a Wee Praxis. This is a Civivi Vision FG. So Towser K Mini, definitely a whole lot stumpier than both. Last two comparison size knives coming up. This is the Spyderco Native 5. So the Towser K is significantly longer. This is a Civivi Elementum, and the Towser K is still a hair bit longer than the Elementum. Now, useful cutting edge, it's just a little bit longer than the Elementum, and just, I wouldn't say a good bit longer, but yeah, a bit longer of usable blade length. Completely different blade shapes, right? Not a big deal, but it's just something to note. Let's take the weight on this guy. It has steel liners. They're not nested. They're not shadow boxed. They're, in line and everything. But of course you do have the frag titanium on the surface. Steel clip, all steel hardware, no backspacer. You have these two little steel standoffs. So this is a weighty object. 4.7, still, under 5 ounces, nothing really to complain. It feels right for the size overall, especially when you can get a full purchase. I do wear a large, extra large size glove, but I have relatively slim fingers for the overall size of my hands. And even still, I have almost an inch of the knife butt sticking out over here. Another little thing that I want to draw your guys' attention to is that they have varying pocket depth carry. So this is a ambidextrous styled lock design. They allow for you to flip the clip over to the other side and have it, I guess deep or shallow carry. I did actually move it up. It's fine, nothing to really complain about. How it was from the factory, it was dropped one more down. It's fine, and then completely deep carry to the max. It drops in essentially flush all the way with my pocket seam. Nothing sticks out. It's excellent. So I do definitely enjoy that. There is a large hole going through for lanyard loving people. So that's there for you if that's what you like. There are, I believe, multi-row Teflon. They're like the white plastic stuff. Like Teflon cage ceramic bearings. So they're the staggered or multi-row, whatever you'd like to call them. That was one of the same things that they had on the original Towser K, and I believe the Towser S as well. It's a slightly different, I think the S was for sheep's foot, so it was a little bit more rounded off. It wasn't as like cleavery looking like this is. Good looking blade shape. Didn't get the chance to actually check it out in person, but it looks like be a good pickup too. But it kind of just stopped there with that iteration of the Towser. But as this thing is, there really isn't much more to talk about. The titanium is beautifully executed. It definitely will allow for people that enjoy anodizing to easily take this apart. It's just right on the surface. You undo the pivot, pocket clip, and this little body screw right there is a T8, T6 unfortunately on the pocket clip, but you can just remove them, of course, clean them off, sanitize, whatever, and go ahead and do your dipping process. You can go anodize, do whatever you want to do, different coatings and things like that. If you want to send it out to people to do that, that'd be really cool. That would be really freaking cool if somebody out in the customizing like aftermarket scale scene gets a hold of one of these models, and because it's really just the shape. There isn't too much intricacy underneath because you do have the full length steel liners. It sits right on those steel liners, and there's a lot of heavy weight relief on them, which is definitely appreciated and much needed, that's for sure. But I think that this model definitely has somewhere to go. This thing can definitely get really big, and I'm surprised that not really many other channels are showing this particular variation of the Towser K off. So I think this is the variation that is going to make it for the model and the name overall, because of so much customizable potential. As is, you already have titanium that you can anodize. You have steel that you can, do some heat coloration to. It does come with a cheapy steel pocket clip, but I'm pretty sure the premium titanium pocket clip that Kizer offers directly off their website, I'm sure that fits on here as well. I don't know if those have titanium screws or would just fit like here. For example, like on this right here. This is an aftermarket titanium clip, and the original screws were steel T6. When you buy a Civivi aftermarket clip, they come with titanium T8s. So now this whole build is T8s, which is awesome, right? That's just a little quality of life improvement that I know a lot of people in the hobby do definitely appreciate. So I don't remember, seeing off of their website if the new titanium pocket clip, if it has T8s or T6, not a big deal. As is, this whole thing is really, it's excellent. I love it. It's going to stay in the collection quite a bit. It will see some anodization in the near future. You guys will most likely see it. But this is good to go. I love it. I as I mentioned before, I hope somebody in the aftermarket scene gets a hold of this thing and is able to just roll out so many different variations of aftermarket scales, because it's really simple. There aren't any threads on the actual titanium. They're just holes, and it's flat slabs of titanium. All you got to get right is just a thickness, and at that point, the only limitation is really your imagination, right? So there's that, old saying, I suppose. But this thing's awesome. I highly recommend it. Go get it. Go use somebody's 10% discount code, and get this thing for under $100, which is insane, because there's so much good here. There really is. If really any other company was making something just like this, guaranteed it would cost a lot more. I don't know how Kizer's doing it. I can't even begin to possibly figure out how they're doing it, but it's excellent. There's so much value here. I absolutely love this thing. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you did, go ahead and leave a like down below. If you are subscribed, thank you so much. I appreciate all your support and your patience, of course. If you were not subscribed, consider subscribing, because I have plenty more videos and content coming your guys' way. And with that being said, have a wonderful rest of your day.